So I was born in the Bronx, New York, but when I was 3 years old, we moved to Palestine, and I lived in Deir Dibwan from the age of 3 to the age of about almost 10. And so I went from like preschool to fourth grade. I studied in Palestine, and so like I was immersed in the culture, immersed in the traditions and the people and the land. And I always say Palestine is the love of my life because of those 7 years that I spent there. And just about almost every summer we would come back to New York, which is kind of like the opposite story. I mean, early on, I understood that we were under occupation. Early on, I understood that there was something very not normal, especially because like I had a sense of what normal was, comparing it to New York. So I know that anytime I would want to go to the Quds, Jerusalem, I'd have to see these men in these big tanks and big guns. I remember 6 years old being in Ramallah with my mom. We just went out shopping, and suddenly we saw everybody just start running and running, and my mom saying, "Cover your mouth, cover your nose," and tear gas was being thrown by the Israelis. And I remember wanting, as a kid, my dad used to want to take us out to like amusement parks or here and there, and us trying to drive through. This was in the 90s where things were actually, as they want to say, the golden years or whatever years, the happy years. We would want to go to the amusement park. And I remember this one amusement park that we went to. It was like Alligator Land or something. Until this day, I'm afraid of alligators because of that day. We went, and it was like you had to go over this bridge of alligators, and these alligators had their mouths open. I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I remember it's like facing them and then looking ahead, and it's like these Israelis with guns. And being a kid of like, which one's going to kill me first? I wonder which one's the more dangerous one for me. Is it going to be this alligator, or is it these soldiers? But I remember that being something so just so trippy for me as a New Yorker, because when I came back and I was going to high school in New York, I remember we had these exchange students that came to our high school that were from Israel. And I remember trying to explain to people that the only Israelis I've ever encountered were soldiers. The only Israelis I've ever known were those who carried guns and who actually didn't want me to be around. So suddenly for you to sit on a desk next to me, and suddenly for you to want to sit on the lunch table and engage with me in conversation, that was so surreal, because I was like, here, you can't hit me, you can't shoot me down, and you and I both will enter the same hallway, we both will sit on the same seat. But the moment we cross over and we go back home, or I go back home, it's not like that. You see the effects of occupation and everything. You see it in the lack of infrastructure. You see it in the chaos and in the dirt and in the lack of like order and conduct. You see it in people's mannerisms. You see it in people how push each other, how they're not used to just standing on a line. And that's something that I really took in a few years ago. I spent a couple of months trying to kind of like feel more with the community and feel like I am truly Palestinian and not like an outsider. But I remember while trying to work there, trying to do something, understanding that I am different. And I remember becoming ill and being nauseous for a very long time and going to see doctors while I was in Palestine, trying to figure out, why is no amount of sleep enough? Why am I always feeling nauseous? Why am I always feeling this fatigue? Did I catch a bug? Is there something wrong with me? And I went to a couple of doctors, did all sorts of blood work, whatever, until finally a few of them sat me down and they said, you have this thing called culture shock. I was like, what? They're like, you are in major culture shock right now, and you're kind of fighting, you're in a denial phase, because for you it's tough because you say, I'm Palestinian, I'm fully Palestinian, whatever, but you're not. You're Palestinian American. And for you to come back and for you to be, I'm hyper aware of all my surroundings. I'm very I just see everything that happens and I feel it and I take it in. And so while I was there, just seeing how folks communicated with each other, how tough it was to live there. Not being a tourist that would just go in the summer, stay in my little bubble, go to these restaurants, go pray in Al-Aqsa and go home. No, but actually taking the transportation on a daily basis, talking to people. I mean, just seeing people kind of go through the day-to-day, and how a doctor can't even feed his family, how a doctor can't even pay like a taxi. And I remember seeing that, and it took a toll on me. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't keep my food down. It took me a while. It took me like 2 months for me to try to actively just focus on what's in front of you, stop taking all this stuff in, but it changes you for sure. Being Palestinian taught me patience, taught me diplomacy, which is so strange, right? But it taught me how to calculate my words at such a young age. because everyone wants to jump down and change what you're trying to say, and everyone wants to control what you're trying to say. When I moved back from Palestine into New York, I was entering the 5th grade, and I remember learning so quickly what it means to be Palestinian outside of Palestine, which was like the moment that I said I was from Palestine, it was like, whoa, 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 question marks, excuse me, ma'am. And it's like suddenly you had these teachers and the principal come, and they all want to have this type of debate or type of discussion or discredit where you're from, or no, you can't say that, or you can't say this. And, I remember just learning so quickly that being Palestini means to watch what you say, but never whitewash or water down your truth. Say your truth no matter what, but make sure that you're saying it to people who are also willing to listen. There's no reason for you to waste your breath on people who don't care to listen. Home is a very difficult thing for me to define. And I think for a lot of people it really is, because it's such a simple word, but it holds so much. And so home, I always felt, was never like an exact physical space, but rather like a feeling. Like many people feel that way. And I feel it, the times that I felt home was for sure as a kid in Palestine, in Deir Dawan. Like I felt that was my home. Like when I think of home, I think of my home there that I grew up in. I think of home in the arms of my oldest Khalto, my mom's sister. Like when she holds me and she embraces me, that feels like home to me, because I feel like there's that history, there's that love, there's that hanan, that compassion that's so sacred and so like rare. I feel home when she does that. I feel home when I'm driving through like the olive trees and the fig trees. We have like these beautiful hills and throughout Ramadan, throughout the West Bank, where like you just look out and you just see these hills of olive trees and fig trees. And I look at that and I feel at home. I feel at home when the sun kind of hits me and I'm just like, alhamdulillah, this is home. I try to find it here. I've tried so many years to find home here, find it in London, find it in different parts of Europe, because I've traveled. I went to grad school in the UK, and it's nice. No matter where you go, it's beautiful, but it doesn't taste the same as it tastes back there, back home.